Today I'd like to talk to you about leaky taps. Most households have leaky taps and it is infuriating to hear the drip, drip, drip of water. The water company in particular doesn't like to have dripping on leaking taps. So what we've done is taken an ordinary looking tap and we've cut away the side so you can see exactly what goes on inside a tap. This part here is called the seat. Now the seat is usually the problem. The washer sits down on the seat, and if the seat has got any kind of unevenness, then water will pass between the seat and the washer, even though the washer is screwed down onto the seat. The cure for it is to what we call reseat, or cut a new seat using a unsurprisingly named tap reseater. This is a tap reseater which is designed for use by the ordinary householder, and you can see it consists of in effect actually three different diameters of cutter and two what we call parallel bushes. Now the bushes are threaded so that they mate up with the thread inside the top of the tap. The first thing you have to do is to turn the water off. That is most important, and on the instructions that's the first thing you do. Turn the water off, because if you don't you'll get it all over the place and it'll be horrible. You then take off these cutters, and generally speaking what you will have to do is to find the best cutter which fits through the hole where the thread is. And then you select a bush and make sure that the thread is the same as the thread in the top of the tap. In this case, this is the cutter that we need, and it is of course very convenient to use a torch to see what's going on. Insert the spindle with the cutter on it and then screw the bush. So that's now screwed in there and make sure that the spindle is perpendicular to the seat. So then all you have to do is to give it a few turns like that to remove the roughness of the seat. Unscrew that, take that out, knock out any brass, have a look, make sure it's smooth using your torch, and then reassemble the tap with perhaps a new washer on the end of the spindle that goes through there, and then you will find that it won't leak anymore and you'll be very happy. The tap reseater which we would recommend for households is this one. The code number is 450P for Peter, and it fits most UK taps. There will be exceptions to that of course, and it may well be that you have to use this kind of tap reseater with what they call a tapered cone on it, which fits unusual tap tops. But it won't work if the thread inside here doesn't go all the way up to the top, because it won't grip on the cone. So that's why we have these parallel bushes. Now this is a metal or a steel tap reseater, clearly much more expensive than the other one, but this has an interesting little accessory on it, hexagonal piece in there, so you can drive it using, say, a cordless drill. That may be for the professionals. And then over here you can see that we've got different kinds of, or different diameters of flat cutter, and even cutters with a bevel on the bevel for beveled seats. Its inception was in the early 1930s when I think a man called Herwood invented it, but he made these tap reseaters for us, and this is an old pack from I guess the early 60s. But what we've tried to do is to keep everything the same, except when we brought this one out, which came out in the 70s. So if you've got one of these very old ones, surprisingly, we haven't altered anything, so that a brand new cutter, which is there, is exactly the same thread, so it fits. And this is the same pitch as it used to be on there. So if you can find one, a second-hand one, don't worry about not being able to get any parts for it, because we've got them. The major change was that we did away with we kept the tapered cones, but discovered that they didn't always work in the top of taps. And if you look at this tap, you can actually see that the thread here doesn't go all the way up to the top. There's a little bit of a gap without any thread. So the chances are this taper might not hold in there. And if it doesn't hold, it's no good. Won't keep it square. So we then introduce these parallel bushes to overcome this problem with the lack of thread at the top. So they screw in and they're perfectly dead square. But the latest thing was this, just to make it more attractive to the consumer, because the steel ones, they're very, very nice, but they tend to be a little bit expensive. And we wanted to make sure that the DIY market had an opportunity to buy a reasonably priced one. So that's how to reseat a tap. If you've got any suggestions as to how we may improve any product that we have on the market, we'd be very pleased to hear from you. Meanwhile, thank you for watching.